All right, well, we are now up to our main and very interesting guest. This is somebody that you read about a lot in the newspaper, and it's a very timely topic. As we know, we're about to start an election season, and there's a lot of hope that we'll get through this election season without anything horrible happening. And the man who's entirely responsible for that, for all of us, is our wonderful Maricopa County recorder, Adrian Fontes. Adrian. Thank you, Adrian. We appreciate you. You know, I'm not sure that I really exaggerated your job description, right? Because you are either the most hated or the most not thought about person. Nobody ever says, hey, great job, right?
That's exactly right. You know, the office has rarely ever in the history of elections, administrators around the country are always like, they either hate us or they ignore us, and we want to be ignored, right? We just want to get it done right. It was funny, my trainer actually told me that he met someone from one of the TV stations. They were doing an event, and he said, yeah, you know, I know Adrian Fontes, and she goes, oh, he has a hard job. And I'm like, well, you know, but it's great work, right? Maricopa County is the third largest voting jurisdiction in the United States of America. We've got 2.5 million voters right here. We've got 5 congressional districts entirely inside of the county. We touch on 3 others. So there's only 1 congressional district in Arizona that is not part of Maricopa County. You know, a couple dozen municipalities, Indian reservations, water districts, school districts. We do all of that stuff. So it's a year-long, every year, all the time sort of endeavor. And it's a lot of fun.
Well, the fact that elections are so covered by the press, I mean, the whole dangling Chad, I mean, around the country, there's all these scandals having to do with elections, and the fact that we're the 3rd largest election department in the country, and we haven't been on the front page, that's something to be proud of.
Sure, sure. You know, we've made a lot of adjustments, a lot of modernization. You know, I took office in January of 2017. As a matter of fact, one of the first things I did after I got elected was come on this show, and I have to say, you're pretty good at this. Isn't he pretty good at this? I mean, the top 10 list and all that. You know, I don't know how long you're going to be doing what you do normally, your day job, but this is not a bad career for you.
Well, speaking of elections, maybe you and I can talk later about that. Well, so in addition to just being relevant, you know, one day every 2 or 4 years, what do you do when you're not managing campaigns? Is it take 2 years to get ready for that next election day, or is there? Yes.
Yeah. So there's a whole lot of work that goes into it, all the way down to literally planning precincts. Let me give you a really quick example. In 2017, when we first took office, we were getting ready already for the 2018 election. We've got a couple of really small precincts in Maricopa County on the south side of South Mountain. Okay, so downtown Phoenix is bordered on the south by South Mountain, and then in Ahwatukee, there's 3 precincts there that actually belong to the other side of the mountain because of the way the maps were drawn, and the U.S. Census Bureau put numbers out after the last. So these exercises, maps going back and forth between the Census Bureau, the post office, our office, and all these other things created a situation where we've got a couple of pockets where Ahwatukee voters are in the South Phoenix Congressional District. They're represented by LD 27, not LD 18, which touches Tempe and all the rest of Ahwatukee. So these things have to be dealt with. That's the building block at the base. Then we've got to talk about our logistics and our training and updating laws, which happen every year. All of these things culminate in, the best analogy is this. When you look at your cell phone, you can swipe and tap and have the whole world at your fingertips. Well, that didn't just happen overnight. There was a lot of planning and chemistry and design and physics and engineering that went into making that happen. That's how elections work.
So let's talk a little bit. Are we getting new election hardware for this upcoming? I mean, this is 2019. The mother of all elections, the presidential election, the primary before that is literally 1 year away.
Well, a lot less. We're in March.
Oh,
yeah.
The presidential preference is in March.
The presidential preference is in March, and then We're already less than a year away from the primary because the legislature moved the date up to early August.
Right.
And
so what are people going to see when they show up at the poll? Is it going to be the same old box that you, in the same old paper that I've shoved through, or something changing?
So let me walk through it real quick. So, I took office in early 2017. We needed to see what the situation was for the first couple of years. Look at what was going on the ground. We made some changes, but there were some fundamental things that we wanted to look at before we made major adjustments. So that's when we got together after November of 2018 with the Board of Supervisors, and we said, we need a lot more people, we need better technology, we need better funding, and they did some studies on personnel and how many folks we need, and we worked together with the committee that was created after that. And so all together, what we've done is we've taken our election department, and this is us working together with the board, because by statute, we're only responsible for voter registration and early voting, and the board has this charter that they gave the recorder for everything else. But technically, they're really still responsible for that. So they're taking a little bit more responsibility than they had in the past. They gave us 26 bodies, 26 new jobs to augment our only 21 that were existing. So we're actually more than doubling the size of the department based on what this committee and these studies showed. We're increasing our communication budget because we've got a lot of interesting things happening. And of course, we started our study, our RFP background work back in December of last year, so that we could be in a position today, literally today, we are unboxing some of that new hardware that you were talking about. And we couldn't make fundamental changes in the way that the elections department and recorder's office worked to make elections happen until we'd seen it happen for 2 years. Watch the operation, look at the processes, look at how folks are utilized, then make the critical changes. And so this has been a 4-year-long, it's a 4-year term, and luckily we had those first 2 years, not hiccup-free, but we needed to look at it. Now we're going to be executing 100% for 2020, and I think we're going to do good. And the short answer is yes, we have new equipment.
Okay, so at the national level, there's a lot of debate going on about how do we respond to this threat from Russia and other folks that are trying to influence our elections. Apparently, the latest thing I heard was that every state in the union during the last election somehow was under attack by these foreign influencers. So I think there's more and more emphasis on we need to have a secure system that has maybe a paper backup to an electronic vote, right? And
so there's two big security concerns in elections, two major security concerns in elections. One is the one that you just mentioned, and that looks at old technologies, insecure technologies, tries to probe through folks who work at like email phishing attacks, attacks on service for stuff that's connected to the internet. And that's on the technical side. But the other major threat to our democracy from foreign actors is you and me being unduly influenced, spreading misinformation, talking about things that we have a feeling are not true, but they hit at us emotionally, and being less informed than we ought to be, spreading misinformation among ourselves. That's the biggest hack. It's the hack of the American voters. And when we get to the point where we can really discuss this openly and say, look, we're going to become more informed, we're going to pay closer attention, we're going to read local media, local papers, listen and update ourselves on what's happening around us, then we're less susceptible to that. And on the technical side, going back to the first question, we're working with federal, state, and local law enforcement agencies. We're working directly with our county Office of Enterprise Technology and their information security folks. We have our own IT department that's looking, so we've got lots and lots of eyes looking all over our system at the hardware, at the software, and at our own folks as well to make sure that everybody is acting in the most secure manner possible.
That's a great point you made, because I think a lot of us, when we think of election security, if we go to this, someone's going to try to hack into our system and monkey with the vote tally or something like that. And that certainly is a threat that we need to address. Yes. But as you indicated earlier, what we can really count on is that there will be people that are seeking to influence the election with fake Facebook posts and all that type of thing. That's going to happen.
And we know that it has happened. It happened in 2016. I mean, if you've read the entire Mueller report, I've gotten 2/3 of the way through it. I can't say I've read the whole thing, but it lays out what some of our foreign adversaries did and the impact that it had. And without getting into the politics of it, you really have to be concerned and alert. And elections are as much about us making the decision as they are, us, the population, as they are about my office and our partners with the supervisors reflecting that decision in an outcome, right? So this partnership includes updating your voter registration information at maricopa.vote. Are you registered with the right party? Have you moved recently? These are really important things to help us keep a secure database, because as we continue to update this data and information from you, we build a stronger partnership. And that makes for more secure elections. So when you talk about security, it can't just be this sort of idea of a technical thing that someone at a computer's working on. It's all of us working together to make sure that our elections, everyone's elections, work well.
So a moment ago, you said maricopa.vote. Where do people need to go? Most of us get our ballots in the mail.
Yes.
And so we're going to want to make sure that in anticipation of this important election that it's coming to the right place, and that we've got everything figured out that way. So is it, where do I?
Maricopa.vote.
Maricopa.vote.
We tried to make it easy. If you live in Maricopa County, and that includes all of Mesa, and I think most of the chamber members too, Maricopa.vote is where you go. There's a lot of information on there. And one really fun piece of information, because I think a lot of voters out there are concerned, well, did they get my ballot? Did they count my ballot? Look, we have a text messaging service. I'd like to say we created it, but we stole it from Denver elections. And the number is this. This is one time I encourage people when I'm talking to take out your cell phones or make a note. 628-683. That number, 628-683, if you text the word join to 628-683, it'll take you to a page at maricopa.vote where you can sign up for an automatic text notification. And what does this do? It gives you some messages automatically generated. So when your ballot has been ordered a little less than 2 months before the election from the printer, you get a text message that says your ballot's been ordered for your upcoming election. Then when it gets mailed to you, the system automatically generates another text message. Your ballot's been mailed to you. Then when we receive it back in the mail, we scan them in, and a text message automatically goes out and says, we've received your ballot and we're sending it for signature verification, and so on through the system. And this is one of the ways that you can actually track. Without going to our website, without having to manually put anything in, you sign up once, it'll ask for the right kind of information to get you on board. 628-683, you text the word join. We've been using it since 2017 when we first piloted it. We created it for our voters, and it's doing so well, and people just love it. And it's a great service. Again, part of the partnership that we have with our voters, part of that collaboration is making sure that we're doing what we need to do to rebuild trust and confidence in these systems, make it more transparent, more secure, and improve the voter experience.
Great. So I hope that our Channel 11 folks are going to be able to put some of these numbers up on the screen so that folks at home can do it while they're watching this. But a couple of, the maricopa.vote, that's the great website to go to. Make sure that you're
there's a button
registered.
for the service at the bottom of that page too.
Okay, and then in addition, or if you don't do it as part of that, text the numbers 628-683 and type in the word join.
Type in the word. So you'd put the number as if it's a phone number?
Yeah.
But it's only, I know it's only 6 digits, that's okay. 628-683, and then you put the word join, bam. It's gonna take you to the page, you sign up with your phone, you sign up online, and you'll get those messages either via text or email, or both, I think. But it's great new technology that really augments what, look, you said most of our voters are voting by mail.
Yeah.
In the August 2018 primary, 85% of the tabulated vote was from early voters who gave us their ballot in an envelope with a signature on it. 85%. And in November, this last year, 2018, it was close to 81%. So we know, 4 out of 5 Maricopa County voters are not going to polling places. They're voting at home, right? Home's where you want to be safe and secure. You want to take the time to look at what you need to do. And the increase in the number of our permanent early vote list is actually going up faster than the number of voters that are registered. So what we also know is as we grow Maricopa County, right, as we get more people here, the rate of permanent early vote list voters is growing faster than the rate of registered voters. And that's because it's easy. It's something that I think we should really consider doing statewide, frankly, in every election. And it doesn't mean you don't vote in person. You can still do that. Replace your ballot, go get your sticker and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, I think we're moving in that direction, and we're doing everything we can to do this right.
It's just so much more convenient when you see the people standing in line sometimes in the hot weather. You realize that I would far prefer dropping it into a mailbox than doing that.
Yeah.
So you indicated that I may have led people to believe that, we'll worry about this next year during the elections. No, the elections have started already. If you live in Mesa, all 4 of our elementary school and high school districts have elections this November that are entirely mail-in.
That's right.
Mesa Public Schools, Gilbert Public Schools, Higley, Queen Creek, they're all, this November, they all have an election, and you can't go stand in line anywhere. So
just like we did in 2017, you know, we're going to be mailing out 1.5 million ballots in November this year, 2019, to school districts, water districts, and fire districts all over Maricopa County. It's an enormous exercise, and again, it's not something that a lot of folks have in their head, but that's one of the ways that our department continues year in and year out, month in and month out planning. In fact, we've got a live election going right now for the Pine Council District in the city of Peoria. And one of the ways that we're talking to folks over there about it is we're using the latest technology to geotag online social media, advertisements and all that good stuff for those folks in those zip codes to remind them of what's happening. That's going to be very important when we get to March. March is a critical election because we've got the presidential preference election on March 17th. Well, out here in the East Valley, Tempe and Chandler have municipal elections the week before. So Tuesday the 10th and Tuesday the 17th are both official election days. So we're going to be spending a good bit of time and energy and a little bit of money talking to those voters specifically because they'll be getting 2 pieces of mail, 2 different ballots for 2 elections within a week of each other. It's just the way the law works out. So we're going to do everything we can to reach out, educate voters so that they can make sure to be included in all of the elections that they're eligible for.
Okay, so there's no reason not to right now go to those 2 sites that we described earlier, maricopa.vote and the text number, so that you can be fully prepared to participate in the upcoming elections. And just so we know, the next elections that are coming up for those of us perhaps that live in Mesa, the March presidential preference.
Well, November's the next one.
No, I'm sorry, the November, the city, Mesa Public Schools, Gilbert Public Schools, the override.
Right.
Please vote in that. We can't use Channel 11 to encourage you how to vote, but we can encourage you to vote. So that's in November.
Yes.
March is the presidential preference. That's like kind of a presidential primary.
It is, and this year there's, we anticipate, and we don't know for sure until the declarations are made later in the year, but it's very likely that it'll only be for one of the political parties. We think the only contest will be for the Democrats. So that's going to be March 17th. And then for Mesa voters.
So who's going to get, if you're registered as an independent, do you get a ballot for the presidential primary?
Well, it's interesting that you asked that question. It's a little timely. As it stands today, Arizona law excludes non-party members only from the presidential primary, that March election. So if you're not registered with the party 29 days before that March election, you can't vote in it, all right? I am an advocate of opening that up since it's a taxpayer-funded election. I'm an advocate of opening it up for non-party designated or independent voters. We're hoping that the Democratic Party, my party, will kind of open the doors. We'll see if that happens. We don't know. But as it stands today, the rule is if you are not registered with the party on the ballot for the presidential preference election 29 days before, you can't vote in that election.
Okay, so if you want to participate in that presidential preference, you need to register right now as a Democrat We might have a contested Republican. We'll
It's possible.
see.
It is entirely possible.
But as this unfolds, if for whatever reason it's important to you to participate in that election, you have to be a member of one of those parties 29 days before the March preference election.
Yes, and we'll definitely be talking to everyone in Maricopa County about the specific rules as we get closer to those elections.
Okay. And then, as you mentioned, the Arizona legislature just this last session changed the dates of the August primary.
Right. Traditionally, our election season in Arizona is end of August and then the Tuesday in November. That end of August date was moved to the first Tuesday in August. So the 2020 regular primary election, where independents can vote in that one, that's why I want the other one changed because it's confusing. Independents can vote in August. It's going to be August 4th, 2020, for the November regular general election. So those timelines are changed just a little bit.
Okay, so August 4th is early. Some families might still be coming back from vacation, but hopefully you're getting your ballot
My
in the
kids are
mail.
already in school by then. It's rough.
Yes.
I live in Phoenix. We got school all the time.
East Valley is a little more civilized. We wait a week or two before we throw our kids out the door. But you got to pay attention, folks. And I know we all are very anxious to participate in the elections. Mr. Fontes and our great leaders have made some real progress in helping us to do that in an easy and secure way. So thank you for the great job you're doing. But really, it's our job to do this. So.
Absolutely, it is, and that's the one thing I think that's most important that I'd like to say is elections are not just about the people who run them. They're about the people who vote in them, the people who make it happen. And, you know, the more we get more folks participating in our democracy, the more leaders like you and me understand what the voice of the people is, right? If we have lesser and lesser people voting, then we're only catering to the folks that vote. And so my encouragement to people out there is get your friends and neighbors registered, get them voting, talk to people about this. This is everything, and local elections really matter. Absolutely. You know, the decisions that you make at the local level here for the city of Mesa, they have an impact on small businesses, right? You and the council are responsible for some of those policies. The chamber is a partner and the voters are a partner too. So those are really important things, not just for our economy and everything else. We pay a lot of attention up at the top. There's a lot of noise up there, but local elections really matter just as much as our chambers and others.
Or more, I would say.
Yeah.
In fact, you might want to start at the back of your ballot and work your way forward, just in case you.
I know some people who do that.
Yeah. Well, again, Adrian, thank you so much. There's a lovely gift from one of our local cobblestone auto detailers to help you drive home in a clean car. And we really appreciate the great work that you're doing for us.
We're gonna do a drawing at the office in the Elections and Recorders Department to see which one of our folks is gonna get themselves a nice little detail job.
Thank you. I'm sure that's the appropriate way to handle it.
Thank you very much, man.
Thank you so much. We'll see you. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Well.